Hey everyone, this is Finn. I'm going to make a video today about a game that I had a couple of months back. I was playing for the Southampton Chess Club A team in this match. Now, this was quite a significant moment for me. I'd played for the A team for Southampton once before, about 7 or 8 years ago, at the time when I'd recently joined the club, and people thought that I was a pretty strong player. Erroneously, as it happened at the time, I was not actually particularly strong at that point, and I lost horribly in the only game that I played for the A team back in those days. So since then, I've been trying to earn my opportunity for redemption, let's say. And so this was it. This was the first time I was invited to play for the A team since that debacle around 8 years ago. And I put in a good showing. At least the results was good. The game, as we'll see, was kind of flawed, but interesting in any case. So I wanted to analyze this game in a video, and I hope you will find it interesting. So I was up against a strong young local player called Alikhan Menseitov, and I know that he's had pretty good results in recent tournaments. So yeah, I knew this was going to be a tough game for sure. So I was playing with white pieces. I played d4, my normal repertoire. We have knight f6. Let me turn the engine off. Don't want to give engine spoilers here. Um, so d4, knight f6, c4, and c5. So going into kind of Benko or Benoni type stuff. I play d5 here. Um, and then b5. So he plays the Benko Gambit. Now, in general, I always decline this. I have very little experience accepting the gambit. So e3 is my normal move. Yeah, it's equal, but sometimes the middle games can be pretty interesting. He actually immediately played a move that put me out of book, b4. Um, it's a bit of a strange move. In a sense, it feels a bit like a waste of a tempo for black. I don't particularly see what they gain out of this move compared to, say, developing a piece like g6, bishop g7 kind of stuff. Seems normal to me. So I was slightly suspicious of this move, but I guess black is gaining space on the queen side. Um, and it's logical in the structure to try to play on the queen side for black. So ultimately, it's a bit unusual, but probably fine. I go b3, and this is a standard kind of setup for me against the Benko. I, if possible, want to go bishop b2 and make sure that black does not dominate this long diagonal. As we will see in this particular middle game, this becomes a very important theme, the battle for this diagonal. And I almost come to grief along that frontier, let's say. Okay, so black plays g6, as expected, bishop b2, bishop g7. I play queen c2. I think there are other moves, but this is developing and trying to support a potential e4 push later. Black castles. I played knight f3, just developing. d6 is played. All these moves seem quite normal. I played bishop d3. Again, I want to control e4. Potentially, the bishop might have some use in attacking black's kingside, depending on what black does. I played a5 here. And my opponent was using quite a lot of time in the opening phase of the game. I think, I had a feeling that white is slightly better in this position. I think, just the bishops are nice. My sense of control is pretty strong. And yeah, perhaps, black's development is a little bit slow. Yeah. Um, and it's not entirely clear that these kind of flank moves b4, a5 are giving black enough compensation at this stage to my eyes. So I thought that I had a slight advantage in this position. However, my opponent surprised me because he ended up producing a very solid plan, I think, and yeah, as we'll see, it created some issues for me before too long. So I castled. Knight bd7 is played, normal kind of Benko Benoni type move. Knight bd2, just developing, and now knight b6. And okay, I think the logic of black's play is starting to become clear. You know, the bishop is potentially clear for developments. Black has used this queenside space to develop the knight to, and the knight is now, of course, potentially supporting an a4 pawn break. So I think black's play is very logical. It makes sense for them to play on the queen side. I played h3. The purpose of this move is just to prevent bishop g4. And in a sense, I'm saying to black, you know, are you going to find a good square for your light square bishop? Obviously, f5 is covered right now. Yes, you can play to d7, but it's not that impressive there. Yes, you can play bishop b7, but the white pawn chain is doing quite a good job of kind of protecting these light squares. So this is the concept behind the move, and typically when you have a bit of a space advantage, as often is the case against Benoni Benko type setups, yeah, you want to try and box in the opponent's pieces. So that's why h3 is played here. My opponent plays bishop d7, and I play e4. So you know the break that I'm trying to achieve is e5. And you know, I felt like I'm now threatening this, you know, and it's quite well supported in this position by my minor pieces. So I was, you know, still evaluating the position as slightly better for white. I didn't think that black had an easy way to stop this break in the center, which might allow my pieces to activate in a favorable way. However, after my opponent played his next move, which is very logical, I realized that you know, black is totally fine in this position. In fact, after a4, very strong move, I started to realize that that there's serious danger for me in this position. Now, I had seen the move a4 coming in a sense, but what I was worried about, or what I was thinking about, more to the point, was I was wondering if black's intention was to play a takes b3. And a takes b3 did not worry me, because in that case I would just play a takes b3, recapturing with my a pawn, and then you know, I don't mind a trade of rooks along this file. In fact, you know, my development is a little bit better. My rooks are connected, blacks are not. And I didn't see anything to worry about at all from that threat, so to speak, or that paper tiger threat of a takes b3. What I missed from afar is that black is not intending to play a takes b3 here. Black is intending to play a3. And that's actually a pretty serious threat, because if I just allow black to play a3, I have to play bishop c1, and then there's going to be some kind of discovery with the knight here, because black's bishop is going to be attacking the rook on a1, and black is going to be dominating the dark squares and that long diagonal. So as I mentioned earlier, really I think the key battle in this position is now a battle of this long dark square diagonal. Who is going to have control of it? Can I maintain my control of it in some way? Or is black going to get control of it and use it to their advantage? So quite an interesting position, I would say. Now, it must be noted that yeah, taking this pawn is really not a good idea. The reason is that this allows black to conquer the diagonal in a different way. So now knight takes a4 can be played, and the bishop on b2 is hanging. There's no safe square that I can move it to on the diagonal. So I'm really in quite a lot of trouble here in my view. So yeah, maybe something like rook. Uh, yeah, I mean it's really just not pleasant. So now takes and discoveries are coming with the knights. This is hanging. I mean maybe okay, maybe black shouldn't go for this actually because in this position if I take I have two pieces for the rook here, and black has also lost the bishop. So actually, this wouldn't be the most accurate way, but um, let's see. So yeah, maybe hmm, I mean, maybe this isn't so terrible for white after all. I mean, maybe a strong move here would be something like Queen A5, and the idea is putting pressure on this pawn on A2. Uh, Maybe next move, the knights uh, can swing in like this, and black definitely has an initiative here. How bad this is for white, I'm not entirely sure. But in any case, I definitely didn't like the look of this after knight takes a4. I think this is exactly what black wanted. So I figured that after a4 is played, I need to do something quickly. I need to do something decisive. Otherwise, I'm going to be worse. And it occurred to me after a bit of thought that I could go e5 here. Let me get rid of these arrows actually. So yeah, e5 was played. I think I felt that I had to play this move, but it's also a good move because okay, first of all, let's say if black takes this, um, the really the my point here is that now I can play bishop takes e5, and I found a stable home for my bishop on the diagonal. Now a3 is not a threat. I don't care about that anymore because my bishop is on e5. Maybe these bishops will be traded off, which is fine for me. In fact, black's king gets a little weaker in the event that the bishops are traded, and I haven't allowed black to take over the diagonal here. So this is something that I was hoping for in the position. Now, I didn't particularly expect black to play that because that seems quite cooperative. So I was really analyzing two moves here. I was looking at knight e8, first of all, and I was also considering knight h5. Um, my opponent was really thinking for a long time here, like over 20 minutes, I would say. And I assumed that he must be choosing between knight e8 and knight h5. And for what it's worth, I feel both moves are fine for black. And on closer inspection, I think knight h5 is the best move. And I'd say the main reason for that is now the knight is threatening to come to f4, where it will be attacking my bishop. I don't ever really want to play g3 because, well, bishop takes h3 is coming with a tempo against the rook on f1. So it's actually rather tricky to stop the knight coming to f4. And I would say, to be honest, I'd probably take black in this position. It's probably fairly equal, but notes that also black is maintaining this threat of a3. Maybe I can do something like ed. And now what does black do? Probably they take actually, since if they play bishop takes b2, I could probably throw this in because black's queen is hanging, and only then recapture. And this actually looks good for white. I'm a pawn up with no real weaknesses. So black, I think, would play e takes d6. Maybe these bishops come off, and yeah, white should be fine here. but equally, black has nothing to be particularly worried about, I don't think. So knight h5 looked like the best move, in my opinion. I was also thinking a lot about knight e8. There's actually a fairly big downside of this move, which is now I have time to move this rook, the rook on a1. Now, the point of this is not really to do with the rook itself. It's rather that if black plays a3, I can now play bishop a1. I've vacated the a1 square, and this allows me to continue supporting the center. So I actually think white is doing pretty well here. The knight, of course, is a little awkward on e8. It's a bit passive. Yeah, I would say white is better. Yeah. So after 20, 25 minutes of thoughts, my opponent shocked me with the move knight f takes d5. And I was thinking, wow. I mean, to be honest, I was happy to see this move, even though I wasn't calculating it, because it feels slightly desperate, and I was a bit confused. Like, why not go for knight h5? It looked like such a natural move. So initially, I felt good about seeing this move. Of course, okay. Then I kind of started to think, have I missed something? And it turns out that black has very, very interesting play and compensation in exchange for the sacrificed knight in this position, and really the concept of this all links back to the a3 idea and activating the bishop on this diagonal. But there are also other nuances to it, which I will try to explain. So okay, I mean I think I have to take this. There's really no other sensible move in my opinion. And then, okay, black's initial idea makes sense. They play a3, pushing my bishop off the diagonal, the crucial diagonal. I play bishop c1, preserving material. I don't think there is another sensible move. Now black has a choice. And I wasn't sure what black was going to play here. Obviously, I'd foreseen this position after knight f takes d5. And I thought, okay, what is black's concept? Well, my assumption was that they're really playing to open up this diagonal, right? And you can see after bishop c1 is played that this rook is lacking air, right? It's a tactical vulnerability. It's an unprotected piece. It's hard for me to get that piece into the game, and that's well, and it's also kind of tricky to get my bishop on c1 into the game. So at this point, I was thinking, okay, I definitely see the point of black sacrifice. Like black definitely has some compensation, at least in the short term. Now, for the sake of exploiting this temporary congestion on white's queenside, to me, by far the most logical move is to play d takes e5 in this position. And the point of this is just to open the diagonal. So in fact, I mean, really, like, white has a bit of a tough choice now. Like e4 is being threatened, in which case the rook on a1 is hanging, and two of my minor pieces are attacked. So what do I do here? I was planning rook b1, trying to save material. And then I was foreseeing this line, so knight takes d5 is actually threatening knight c3, which essentially traps the rook. So this really seems quite awkward. Let's say I play knight c4, for example, knight c3, and this knight is very strong, by the way. First of all, let's just note, if I try and save the rook, then I was foreseeing potential nasty stuff like e4. Okay, maybe I take, and then a1 drops, and this is losing for white. So Now, the interesting thing is, in this position, it's a mistake to try to save the rook. Uh, so actually, the rook should not be moved back to a1 because there it becomes cannon fodder for this very strong bishop. So instead of that, it is possible, for example, to take on e5 with either knight. I think it's possible, and just allow black to capture this rook. And this seems like a mess, right? I can play queen takes b1. I could also throw in knight takes d7 first, potentially. Not sure which one is stronger. Either way, I mean, material-wise, it's now closer to equality. In this position, I have two knights for a rook and two pawns. And yeah, I really expected black to go for this. This seems to justify the whole knight sacrifice idea, right? So d takes e5, in my opinion, was the critical move in this position. Instead of that, my opponent chose to play knight takes d5. I felt this is a bit unnecessary because basically it delays the opening of the critical diagonal. And also the pawn on d5 is very weak anyway, so I don't think black needed to rush to take that pawn. Let me show you the game continuation, which may explain why knight takes d5 was comparatively less good than d takes e5. So I play knight c4 here. First of all, this is a strong square for the knights, at least for the time being. But more crucially, I'm reinforcing e5, and that makes it hard for black to open the diagonal. So if the concept of black sacrifice was to try and punish me for losing control of this long diagonal, I feel like that's no longer working. And moreover, I don't see how black is winning back material here. I've basically got a piece for two pawns, and as long as I can decongest my pieces, in my view, should be winning this game. So at this point, I felt pretty good. After the game, my opponent said that he had actually missed the move knight c4 in his calculations before he played the knight sack. And I think, yeah, if you see this, probably it puts you off this line. I was feeling good at this point. Queen c7 is played. It's a very logical move. It's actually just trying to contest this e5 square. Black is trying to open up the diagonal. So I played rook e1. I'm developing and also controlling e5. Again, trying to buy myself time to develop. Black played rook a d8. I'm not entirely sure of the idea behind this move. I mean, one consideration is that perhaps black was worried about bishop e4 being a move and like pinning this knight against the rook. So it definitely has some points in that way. I don't know why d8 is the best square to move it to, but okay. I mean, black's position is a little bit difficult. And I played bishop g5. There are a couple of ideas. Well, I'm pinning this pawn, right? So that's one thing. There's a tactical threat now of e takes d6. But even if it wasn't for the tactical threats, I just want to develop. Like I want to get this rook off of a1 and sort of end for all time this kind of compensation that black has around the long diagonal. So yeah, there's both a tactical and a strategic point behind this move. Okay, black played rook c8 by kind of unpinning his e-pawn. And then I played the move rook ac1. Now, strategically, this is a legitimate idea because I'm basically trying to avoid any sort of tactical issues with bishop takes a1. However, I do, in hindsight, I think this was the first moment in the game where I missed like a fairly clear win, basically, because instead of rook AC1 in this position, there are tactics now. So, for example, it's entirely possible to play bishop takes e7, knight takes e7, and then e takes d6 comes. The queen has to move away somewhere, and then I get this material back, and I get a very strong pawn on e7, which black cannot round up very easily at all. And here, for example, I can bring this knight to e5, saving my rook on a1, and I'm sort of attacking everything. Yeah, I think this is a very good position for white, and it's quite clear that that white is winning here, in my opinion. So this would have been much cleaner than what I did, and definitely part of the lesson from this game is that I really need to work on being more clinical in a winning position. Okay, so anyway, rook ac1 was played. Bishop c6 makes sense, kind of activating this bishop. I just go back here, bishop d2. I mean, what I want to do something about is this knight c3 idea, basically. I didn't want there to just be a knight living on c3 for the rest of this game. Rook fd8 is played. I can now see a future where, if d takes e5 happens, a rook on d8 could be pretty useful. Okay, however, bishop g5, like I'm now like pinning this e pawn again. So I thought, yeah, this is kind of useful. So black goes back with the rook e8. And now, like, we're both getting a little bit low on time, although I do have a bit more time than the opponent, but it wasn't super clear to me like how to convert my advantage at this point. So eventually I decided to play e takes d6, forcing e takes d6, and then my concept is that I really want to pressure the pawn that's going to be left on d6. So for example, I can play bishop h4, bishop g3, and I'll be double attacking d6, and I couldn't really see how black was going to deal with that. So this is the plan that I had in mind. It's a good plan, but it does give black some time to generate counterplay, as we'll see. So e takes d6, e takes d6, bishop h4, going ahead with my plan. Knight f4 is played, attacking my bishop on d3. I decided to play bishop g3 here, going ahead with my plan. If the knight takes on d3, then I play queen takes d3, and like everything is kind of piling up on d6. So I felt like that should be good. And then I kind of realized while my opponent was thinking that I've allowed my opponent this tactic, knight takes h3 check, which was played. I wasn't that scared of this, although I should have kind of seen it coming a bit sooner. But after g takes h3, bishop takes f3, I do get knight takes d6, which kind of generates some very strong ideas for white. And I kind of felt like, okay, like my king isn't too weak, actually, right? So yes, this bishop is slightly menacing, but I've got plenty of active pieces around and sort of controlling the center. So I felt like this should be at least pretty good for white. Now my opponent plays queen d7. Tricky move because he's leaving the rooks on pre, but the threat of queen takes h3 is quite serious. And I thought that particularly when low on time, it just was not prudent to allow this queen takes h3 idea, so I played bishop f1. And now, I feel like with these two bishops bodyguarding the king, like I should be quite safe. So I was still feeling quite positive about my position here. Rook takes e1, rook takes e1 happens. And then my opponent plays rook c6, which is clearly trying to evict my knight from d6. Okay, so I thought, let's go knight c4. This is a solid outpost for my knights now. And okay, the dust has kind of settled a bit. I don't think my king's in any immediate danger, and I have a knight for 2 pawns. I feel like, yeah, white should be winning in this position, although obviously it's not super straightforward to convert. And then my opponent played this move, bishop c3. And it actually makes my task a lot easier, in my opinion. Because now just immediately, like, I have this very strong idea of rook e3. And okay, so let me see if I can get rid of some arrows. There we go. Okay, so here's the thing. This bishop is hanging, and this bishop is not hanging, but I am threatening to take it. Because once this bishop goes, the e5 square is now uncovered from this fork, right? So I think this was a bit of a mistake by black. So rook e3 happens. Like, black has to do something about the bishop, so he plays bishop d5, and now I get my idea. Rook takes c3, b takes c3, knight e5 with the fork, and the position is simplifying in a way that's very favorable for white. Queen e6 is played. Obviously, I take the material, and then bishop takes c6. And this is a critical position, actually, and this actually requires very careful handling. You might think, look, this is now an endgame. White's king is safe enough. White is a piece up. Black has weak pawns. It all looks very good for white superficially, and it is. But you do need to be precise, which I was not. Okay, so now the best move here, the cleanest way to win. Well, let me show you what I did. So I played bishop g2, and this was in the name of king safety, right? I wanted my king to be super safe. I wanted to trade off pieces. Yes, I thought queen e1 check is a thing, but I just go king h2 and so what? Okay, now you might ask, why not get rid of this annoying pawn? Why not play queen takes c3? Well, I saw Black's idea was to play queen e4, and I thought, queen e4, that looks a bit scary. I don't want to get checkmated here. That would be ridiculous. So I thought, why not just play bishop g2? Stop queen e4, and then I can always take c3 later, right? Well, first of all, no, I can't. And second of all, why not just in this position? Why don't we just play queen takes c3, queen e4, f3? Okay, and then obviously black doesn't want to take, because like, this endgame is just completely busted for black. So then what do? Like, my king is totally safe in this position, so black has nothing to do. I'm even threatening queen takes c5, for example. So really, queen takes c3 was like, really had to be played in this position. What's wrong with bishop g2? Well, after queen e1, king h2, bishop g2, king g2. Now, of course, I should have seen this coming. My opponent's idea is queen d2. And this almost wins the game for black. After I've done this whole complicated middle game, I thought I've handled this tricky knight sacrifice, uh, and now am I just going to lose because of this very very silly mistake where I allowed black to keep this passed pawn alive? It's kind of ridiculous, right? Like I'm a piece up, and this bishop is just very poorly placed, seemingly, to do anything about the c pawn promoting. So, and we're both super low on time at this point. Like my opponent has less than 1 minute. I had maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, so I have to play Queen E4. There is simply no other move because I need to threaten something against Black's king. Otherwise, Black is just going to get a second queen and win the game. Okay, so now I knew I had to play this move. I played this move. Obviously, Black plays c2. And now the question is, what's the evaluation? Do I settle for a draw here? Do I even have a draw? Okay, it's not so obvious that I even have a draw, even if I want one. And secondly, can White find a way to win? So I would very much encourage you to study this position. Maybe pause the video at this point and just try and figure out what is the objective evaluation. What is the best way for White to push for a win? Is it possible to force a win? What is the best way to defend for Black? I think it's a very good exercise, both thinking of it as an attacking exercise from White's point of view and a defensive exercise from Black's point of view. There are a lot of subtleties, so it's be prepared for a tricky exercise here. Okay, so I'm very happy because I managed to figure out a pretty decent winning effort here. So Queen E8 check. Kind of clearly I need to give checks, right? King G7. Now I go Queen E5 check, and now Black needs to be very, very precise. So I'll show you the game continuation first. So in the game, with very little time on his clock, Black played King G8. And initially I was thinking maybe I have nothing better than Queen E8, King G7, Queen E5, repetition. Okay. And then I realized, well, hang on a second. Actually, if I just realized that Queen B8 check is a move as well. So, albeit with very minimal time, I was thinking, well, I mean, maybe I should just play Queen B8 check, and then, okay, if King G7, I can always come back, play Queen E5 check, and I should get the same perpetual again, right? So at least Queen B8 seemingly can't be any worse than Queen E8. And then, okay, second thing I realize, after Queen B8 check, King G7, also the bishop can come to E5. So bishop E5 check. Okay, then what? Then what does Black do? And then you think, oh, well, hang on a second. If Black goes King H6, that doesn't actually work because in that position, there's going to be bishop F4 check, and I'm winning the queen. And also the bishop, after I take the queen, or let's put this on the board. So Queen B8, King G7, Bishop E5 check, King H6, Bishop F4 check, takes. Obviously, I'm in time here to round up Black's pawn. Also, after Bishop F4, if they play King G7, then I take on D2, and again the bishop protects the queening square. So I kind of realized, right, okay, actually, so if I go Queen B8 here, then after King G7, Bishop E5 check, Black cannot go King H6. Okay, so then F6 would be forced, right? Now, in this position, however, Queen C7 check can be played. And again, if King H6, then Bishop F4 check, White wins. So this means that Black has to step back with the king. And now This didn't happen in the game, but bishop takes f6 is winning for white. Okay, so first of all, we're threatening checkmate. Black cannot just queen. And then here's the thing. So in order to prevent mates, black is going to need to come back. Actually, it's also possible to throw in this check. But then I believe white has king h2. There are no more checks. And again, if black queens, then we have checkmate on g7. So basically, in this position, I believe the best move for black is to come back queen h6. Check. Queen e7. And now black is going to need to give the, or block with the queen. Takes, and bishop g5 covers the queening square. White is winning. Okay, so actually, to my kind of surprise in a way, because I wasn't actually expecting to win the game at this point, but it turns out that after this sequence, queen e5 check, king g8, after queen b8 check, there is no good defense, right? So bishop e5 check, either f6 happens, in which case there's that kind of long line where white wins, or king h6, in which case bishop f4 wins. So yeah, basically the game finished after bishop e5 check, and my opponent flagged, but I think he perhaps realized that he can't defend this position, and I was thinking, oh, okay, fantastic. I won this game, and thank God for that. First game for the A team in like 8 years, and I managed to beat a strong opponent. And also, I didn't blunder that badly with that bishop g2, because it turns out I was winning all along, right? Well, no. So actually, in this position, after c2, queen e8 check, king g7, queen e5 check. Well, in the game, my opponent played king g8. But what if he plays f6? So now I'm not getting any bishop e5 check ever, and it's not particularly easy to kind of continue the attack. So, for example, here after king h6, okay, there's going to be queen f8. Things get a little bit spicy here for black. I'm not sure this is the best way. So, perhaps better after, if white plays queen e7 check, they can just go back. And I don't think white has a way to make progress in this position. You can actually try like this bishop d6 idea, but this doesn't really put black's king in any danger, because at the very least, black can sack the queen and then promote the c pawn. And I think if anyone's better here, it's black. So in fact, this f6 defensive idea would have saved the game for black. And going back to this position, this is why my move bishop g2 was really a terrible blunder, because I allowed all of this counterplay with the c pawn, right? Very unnecessary, when I could have just played queen takes c3, queen e4, f3, and this is an easy win. So I really, to be honest, got very lucky in this game. I definitely missed several good opportunities to have a much cleaner win. However, the one thing you could say I did well in this game is I did manage my time quite decently, because in this critical position after queen e4, despite the fact the middle game was very complicated, I still had enough time to figure out ways to pose problems for black in this position. So after c2, black had to be very, very precise. with this f6 move, right? King g8, you kind of think this should be enough to draw, right? I think my opponent was expecting just queen e8, queen e5. The game was a draw, and thankfully I found this resource with bishop e5 check, and yeah, this is strong enough to win the game. So yeah, super interesting game. I feel like there were a few key moments. I think particularly in this position after e5, this knight sack definitely wasn't necessary. I mean, I think black could go knight h5 here and be totally fine, maybe even slightly better. Then okay, there's also this moment where I really should have gone for this concept of tactical strike of bishop takes e7, knight takes, e takes d6, giving a much simpler win basically. So that was definitely a missed opportunity. And then certainly after I kind of simplified material with this tactic, queen takes c3 is just really has to be played here. So this is really just a matter of sloppy calculation, to be honest, because it's this was just me seeing queen e4 and thinking that looks scary. I don't want this, and just not kind of really thinking carefully about this defensive concept of f3. So yeah, very flawed game by me, I have to say, but I was very happy to win this one, and I hope that was interesting for you. And take care for now. I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.